Good afternoon. I'm excited about this because you and I have been talking for a while. And you're finally here for Get It, Got It Good on the WBGR Health and Wellness channel, as well as for Total Entertainment Radio. So I definitely wanted to shout out both of my networks that I'm a part of. But today we have Shadi Eleazer. How do you say that?
Shad Laser, yes.
Eleazer. Oh, yay, cool beans. So we're going to be talking business. One of my favorite subjects, by the way. So nothing but
Absolutely.
business. And you're one of the best people to talk to when it comes to this because that's what you do on a regular basis. You also work with SCORE, correct?
President, youngest chapter chair in the country, president of the Greater Baltimore chapter.
What is that, like the third largest?
Yes, it's the third longest running chapter in the United States.
Fabulous. So what else do you do, sir? Because I know you got like this laundry list, including author and everything else. So what else do you do?
Well, I would say I'm one of these people who have taken the family recipe and have gone on to bake my own cakes out here in the world. So I was raised in an entrepreneurial family. My first examples were of grandma having the cleaning business and making cakes and pies, and uncles running various businesses. So in my particular case, in taking that recipe. Uh, I believe that my mission on earth is to help men and women uh, through the power of ownership and entrepreneurship rebuild their communities and just take on that ownership mentality. So I help them to take the ideas that they have within them through their knowledge, skills, and abilities and build, let's say, freedom for themselves and empowerment and ownership for their communities through entrepreneurship.
Well, it's awesome, but I think there's a misconception amongst us, especially. But if you look back historically, we have always been very entrepreneurial,
Hmm.
right? And we have always had to wear multiple hats in order to survive, have that side hustle, have that job, have that under the table money, in order to survive. So, do you agree with that perspective, or do you think something differently?
I have a 75-minute presentation when I go into the science of melanin and how that prepares us for entrepreneurship. And I'll give an example. Within our community, we always have men and women who, they may be the health coach and the DJ, so on and so forth. Who we are, we're a creative people, and we're always coming up with different ways to build, to solve problems, so on and so forth. We often look at that as a negative, like he or she isn't focused, but it's our innate ability to create and to be in the rhythm, so to speak, of what is going on in the world. And that allows for us to package our skills and put different things together. We see it as a negative, but if you look at, like you said, at the history of who we are as a people, you'll find that entrepreneurship is actually made for us to shine.
So it's an adaptive trait. So, and it's also a cultural trait. So, what would you say to the individuals who have that tug of war about is it a negative or is it a positive? Should I be able to focus more or should I just drop everything and just or put everything together and continue the way I'm doing it?
I would say that for the aspiring entrepreneur who has multiple talents and gifts, and this is something I've actually struggled with mightily throughout my career, is that you must first bloom where you're planted. And what I mean by this is you have a particular talent, a particular skill set, and I believe that you should allow for that particular idea to blossom fully before you jump into different ventures. Focus on one, get it to the point of either failure or to the point where it can go further. Surround yourself with the right people who are also in business, who have your best interests in mind, and understand your, let's say, strengths and weaknesses and want to see you prosper. And that will allow you to build your ideas in a more or less tunnel vision so that as that grows and you build a team around that, then you can move on and tackle other ideas that you have within your brain or your wheelhouse.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that, because I'm always preaching networking and your circle, which is so important and even making or breaking you. So when you went and you got into entrepreneurship, I'm from an entrepreneurship family as well, right? But it's always about who you surround yourself with. And coming from, the DMV area, people may say they don't have access to the right people. So how did you build your circle?
This was a journey for me in that I first, and this is very important for your audience, you have to first understand who you are and who the right people are. I was raised in environments where the loyalty that you have to your community comes first. So even, let's say, the worst influences, because of that loyalty, cause you to keep people around you who may not have your best interests around or are a magnet for trouble and negativity. So in my journey, I had to figure out what is a healthy relationship, what is a healthy network. And so that took me getting around people who challenged my thinking. So if I was, let's say, in a silo way of thinking or on an island before, first step was to get around people, get out of my shell, get out of my comfort zone, and start to be around people who are a bit more friendly, a bit more open. And then once I realized that, wait a minute, if I have a business, I need to connect with other business owners. The next mindset was collaboration over competition. So if you really understand what you bring to the table and what you're focused on, even if you're in the same exact market and doing the same exact products or services, if you're focused on one aspect of it, you can partner with other business owners and provide complementary value. But it first takes the understanding of yourself, getting out of that comfort zone, and then looking at the world and every conversation that you have as either someone who can help you reach your mission, or you can help them, or provide them with an introduction, a referral, a testimonial, or endorsement.
You've said so many great things in that. I'm always focused on win-win situations, right? And the fact that if people would just work together, and we have this crabs in a barrel mentality, so that doesn't always happen like we would like to see it. However, you are always talking about mindsets, and I'm always talking about mindsets. How did you go and then develop your mindset? Like, what are some of the things that made you switch those key thoughts in your head from one perspective to another perspective that allowed you then to go and grow and thrive outside of your comfort zone? It has to be outside of your comfort zone, guys.
Great question. Great question. I would say this. There is a hidden benefit to growing up in some of the communities that we tend to come from, in that from a very early age, you see clear examples of what you don't want to be. And for me, that was the first step in understanding that, okay, this is not exactly what I want to be. And then when it comes to mindset, I have to especially thank my athletics, youth athletics and sports. So what tended to happen was in each and every practice, our coaches had the mentality, because we were an underfunded program, we're going up against other schools in different suburbs that were well funded, had the parent teacher board behind us. So he instilled a chip on our shoulder that it's only through your hard work and sticking together that we're even going to have a chance to win or compete. So in every single practice, our coaches would put us through these back-breaking workouts to try to make us quit. And practice did not end until somebody quit. I mean, these are athletes with six packs and rippling muscles, and until somebody gave up, that was the end of practice. So what that did was it planted a seed that through hard work, you can accomplish anything. And if you're, let's say, on the same path as somebody, and there's more or less you're competing and trying to do your best in business, you have to go to the end of the road and see it all the way through, where other people may give up when adversity comes their way or something comes their way where they have to stop and restart. So for me, mindset started with knowing what I didn't want to be very early on in life. And from there, having the right people around me in my community who set a standard of excellence and made us reach that bar each and every day in the summertime, wintertime, cold, hot. And that mentality has carried on. It's like a blueprint for me throughout life.
So, two things about that. First of all, I believe youth sports are very important. My husband's actually a coach. So I see how that team can build up kids and give them that discipline. But you also stated that there are people in the community who held a high standard. Do you think that's lacking today?
There's always going to be people within our community who will always uphold that standard, whether it's through sports, whether it's through after school programs. What I tend to see in terms of our community and where it can improve is the lack of elders. And the reason for this is we as a society have put work before everything else. And so work comes before saying hello to your neighbor. Work comes before being active, alert, and aware. If you're rushing to get to work, if you're rushing to get home, or when you leave, it's late at night or late in the morning, it's dark. And when you get home, it's dark. You don't have the opportunity to connect. When I was growing up, I had a deeper connection with my neighbors. They said hello. They didn't know everything, but at the same time, they knew enough to say what the patterns were in terms of if I was on the right track versus the wrong track. And they had a relationship with my parents where they were able to intervene in let's say, deal with the situation as it's happening, or reach out later on and say, your son was doing this and that. What I see in today's society is more or less everyone, the lack of community relationships, number one, and the mind your business mentality where what goes on in my household is what goes on here, what goes on in your household goes on there. So only through, let's say, athletics does that happen, but the extension of that was also when you're coming home from school or your mom or dad are working, you had neighbors who were able to reach out and more or less keep you in line.
Yeah, most definitely.
Research suggests that close to 50% of all small businesses go out of business in their first 2 years. Don't let that be you. Join That's My Network LLC today. Here at That's My Network, we strive to help businesses build their brand by offering connections to multiple marketing streams, including promotion across a social media platform that has a growing following of 50,000 nationwide. Let us help build and develop your brand to reach its full potential. For more information, email that'smynetwork@gmail.com. That's My Network, a network that works for you.
So how did you take that upbringing and those lessons and life lessons and turn them into what you are now? Like, give people a background on some of the projects and things that you have accomplished personally.
Well, we start with the idea that what I'm able to do successfully must benefit the community as a whole. So if we say with philanthropy, for example, with the 100 Classrooms campaign, where when I first started going on my own as a consultant years ago, what I started to do, and this started from, let's say, youth work and volunteering within schools, serving as a mentor, counselor, so on and so forth. What I noticed is that kids, and depending on the financial level and funding of that school district, they had access to, let's say, certain technology equipment, whether it's workstations, printers, so on and so forth. And so illiteracy in my day was defined as the inability to read the printed page, so newspaper, the chalkboard, so on and so forth. In today's world, it's if you're typing with one finger on a keyboard, or you can't update your driver's license online, you don't know how to use a web browser, your nephew has to do a job search for you if you lose your job because you don't know how to upload your resume. That's the new form of illiteracy. So when you start to look at, let's say, school districts versus, let's say, passing kids through, because if you have a classroom full of third graders and there's only 2 computers and 12 students, some kids are going to be left behind. And when it comes to, let's say, recidivism or lack of technology equipment versus, let's say, the numbers of students that are in prison. When you build a prison in the United States, you look at the reading scores of third grade boys. So the connection is, if the resources that children need to get past ahead are not available, and kids are being left behind, then it funnels them into a life of lack and limitation. So very early on in my entrepreneurial career, I decided to invest in modernizing or creating 21st century classrooms. So started with a few, and then it began to gain momentum to the point where if you have a child in the Baltimore school system since 2014, they've used the iPad for learning, for example, it is a 7 out of 10 chance that it was raised from that effort. So philanthropy has been a major aspect of what I've done to give back. There's also financial literacy. There's also the 1,000 Entrepreneurs campaign, where, again, we take young men and women who are looking to funnel their knowledge, skills, and abilities through an entrepreneurial path and provide them the tools, the resources, and the mentorship in order to do so. And currently working on the Score in the Schools campaign. So imagine this: if at the same, let's say, interval rate that you were able to see your guidance counselor during the scholastic journey, you're able to be exposed to a certified business mentor. What would the trajectory of your ideas be? What would you become? So we have mentors currently in a few colleges, Towson, University of Baltimore, Morgan, and we're looking to expand that to the 3rd to 8th grade elementary level.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would definitely be awesome. And the reoccurring theme throughout it all is finances, right? Without the proper funding for the schools, the kids are unexposed or don't have the tools needed. Without the proper funding for the families, then you become work-centered first before relationship-centered. Which causes you to break down in other areas of the community. And I think, I know you do financial education as well, but I think as a community, not just, Black and brown people, but just as a community in general, this goes across race lines, that when you start with foundational principles that pertain to your everyday life, just because it's like the Maslow's hierarchy, right? You can't seem to think on a higher level unless you have the foundations established. And so people, when they go, why is there so much crime? Why is there so much this? Is because a lot of kids are not in school because their parents are work-centered first, and then they're grinding or working 2 or 3 jobs, so they don't have the supervision, and then the kids fall behind, and then they get placed in special classes when they can't pay attention, and then they don't learn to read, and because they're falling behind, they drop out of school, then they wind up in the system because they're robbing and doing things to bring money and to bring food on the table. It's this horrible cycle. So what about some of the programs that establishes, some knowledge based on some root issues?
Oh, well, when we talk about, let's say, part of the solution, I have a partnership with Black professional men where there's quite a few programs. Actually, there's the Financial Literacy Tour, which from grades 3 through 8, children can learn the value of a dollar. And I believe that helps because if your parents are spending their time working and you, the child, don't understand the outflow and income within the household, it can cause you to not appreciate that sacrifice and go out and seek the shortcut in order to, in the child's mind, make ends meet or try to be a provider in some warped way.
In a warped way.
And so the Financial Literacy Tour has a great impact. There's also Men's Real Talk, which addresses the men within the community and give them a space to discuss and different topics that can't be discussed. Let's say vulnerabilities that a lot of men are not comfortable to speak about. And there's also the annual scholarship fund, where select students are brought to the table in a year-long mentorship program, and that allows them to learn from their elders who have accomplished in business and professional sectors. And once they are in school, they have more or less a reach back program or a direct line of communication to not only just, okay, congratulations, you're in school, but here's how you stay and here's how you master that scenario.
And accomplish it. And okay, so I'm going to take a quick break right here. But when we come back, I definitely want to speak about the men in general, because men are being attacked in our community. So you guys stay with us. We'll be right back with you after these brief messages. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for still being with us to continue this conversation. I definitely want to get into the African-American males, right? And the reason why I want to get into that demographic specifically is because you are a successful African-American male. And unfortunately, the statistics show that we have issues as far as African males, because they expect and they house us and want to house us in a new form of slavery, which is the penitentiary system. But what is not shown is there are many examples of positive Black men doing positive things in the community with the children and business. So how do you mentor up and speak to other men? Because you spoke on the conversations that the men's group was able to have without the judgment zone and all of that stuff. So do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. I think it starts with, again, bloom where you're planted. So as a man in the community, you have to be the boat that lifts all tides. So or the tide that lifts all boats. And through my example, through my leadership, it's reaching out, each one teach one. So in the community, again, we live in a world where we don't talk to each other. We don't say good morning. We don't say hello. I'm a person who said I talk to everyone. I get that directly from my father, who still talks to everyone. So
I'm like that too. I agree.
Yes. So it starts with where I am in my community and building from there. So I know my neighbors. I'm able to connect with people who are in my immediate sphere of influence. Now, from a program standpoint, within my business overall, there's always a pipeline that allows for people who are looking to get started and want to go to the next level. I always leave a portion of my calendar open to give a good word, to review whatever they may be working on. If someone needs communication in order to get to the next level or perspective, I'm willing to give that as well. From a program standpoint, through my work with Black professional men specifically, That's an organization that's been around since 1991. And in my particular case, I brought a lot of structure and especially the entrepreneurial side of the organization, which includes monthly meetings, which includes mentorship programs, which includes a pipeline to where if you have an idea and you want to launch a business, you can do so through the organization. So it's a matter of being in the community, and for men specifically who want to be around what I like to call a flock of eagles. So the upper echelon of what I'm trying to accomplish. Even for me personally, I don't just sit on an island and think up ideas and they just magically happen. I have a council or a circle of elders that I can go to and vet my ideas. And I think that's the most important thing to bring home, is that for every man, they're going to feel like they can innately solve problems or be the fixer. But the most successful within our community are part of networks. And Black Professional Men is one such network. There's several, 100 Black Men, Male Enterprise Network, all have, again, collaboration over competition. So I can reach out and essentially bring an idea to life. Or if I'm going through a challenge, that's an organization where 80% of the membership are married. So I can deal with any, let's say, relationship challenges, any challenges in business, any challenges as just a citizen and just trying to figure out life and navigate through life. And I know that instead of trying to follow my own compass, which can, be blown this way and blown that way, and I can leverage the mistakes of other people, other men, and have multiple perspectives of which to lean on, all of which have my best interest in mind in order to get ahead much faster than someone who is on an island trying to think their way through it and using their own effort in order to do that.
I think that's awesome. I think everybody needs that network. I believe that you need those different perspectives to make yourself better. And I also believe that you need to continually surround yourself with people better than you in order to grow. Now, when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of times people go, I can't be an entrepreneur because it is so much work. It's hard. I don't have the skills, the traits, the know-how, the connections, the network. So what would you advise somebody as far as, okay, you want to start a business, you need to know this, that, and the other before you start, and you need to be able to develop, because nobody starts perfect. You grow into a position. But these are the skills and the traits that you need to start to develop and work on.
Great question. What an entrepreneur who is worried about the effort that's involved, is worried about the long hours, has heard some horror stories from a few friends who started businesses and said, I'll never go back and do that again, and now work in corporate America. What you have to understand is that the path of the creator is a ship that is on the waters, and in the water it's never going to be perfectly smooth. But when it comes to boats, when a boat is in the dock, that's when it's the most safest. But that's not what boats are designed to do. And so when we talk about being a good sailor, smooth seas never make a great sailor. So there's going to be ups and downs because you are the creator of your path. And in many cases, you're building the path as you're moving down that road yourself. So what I would advise you to do is to surround yourself with the smartest people you can find. Now, you may be sitting in your community and you may think, well, this person doesn't like me. This person is against me. This person, he said some negative things to me when I brought an idea to me before. And so you can utilize social media. You can go to meetup groups. You can go on Craigslist and do searches for business and entrepreneurship. You can go to your local SCORE center, these are all free resources that you can leverage in order to get from your immediate bubble, which may be filled with negativity, which may be filled with limiting beliefs, which may be filled with people who want to protect you by giving you a realistic dream. So you come and say, I want to earn $100,000, and that person legitimately believes that bringing you down to $40,000 will keep you safe. And those people are not wrong, but what you have to do is go outside the bubble and surround yourself with the right people and use a business model that I call the cooperative business model. So what you do if you're just getting started is you get your friends who are like-minded, you get your colleagues, you go and reach out to local business owners that you see every day. And you pick a time each week, whether it's via online methods such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Skype, and you meet and you collaborate. You bounce ideas, you use your particular skill to help that person advance. So if, let's say, I am a broadcaster, I will help that individual if they want to start a podcast or anything that they're recording, help them clean it up. If another person's a web designer, we all look at that person's website, make little improvements to clean it up. The key is you don't charge the people in the co-op. Everyone works for the greater good to build each other up. Next, you take that approach to social media. So you as a unit, when one person posts a post on Facebook or on Twitter, you like the post, you share the post, you support the person in the co-op. Next is, for those of you who are comfortable with using live video, which is one of the most powerful means of communicating your message, especially during times of uncertainty, each person forms their own groups on Facebook that is based on your target audience or the service that you provide. So from there, each person goes live within every person in the group's co-op. And the next week you switch and you go to your friend's group. And then you just keep rotating. Each person goes to the group, shares, and you build a all-for-one mentality, which will allow you to attack the growth of your business using strength with numbers. If you cannot attract those people, because there's still someone, even though I explained it very clearly, there's still some of you, I can feel it, that say, well, you don't know my story, you don't know what I've been through, then all your time needs to be spent on building a clear vision of what you bring to the table, because your vibe attracts your tribe. And the signal that you're putting out may be that you feel you're not worthy of attracting the right team to help you build your business. So these are all points that you need to consider if you're getting started and you want to grow your business.
I mean, I agree with you completely. A lot of people don't believe in energy and that their energy is portraying or giving off certain vibes and things. They either repel people or they bring people to you. One of the things that you said earlier on in that comment was about do not charge the people in your, I say this, but so many people are like, oh, we're going to charge you. They're penny pinching. And I tell them they are stepping over dollars to pick up cents, and they don't understand that concept. So do you understand what I'm saying when I say that?
Not only do I understand that, but I am the embodiment of this, the mentality of, let's say, for the record, there's no one living or expired who has done more complimentary work for current and, let's say, aspiring business owners than me. My entire path to where I sit today started with, number one, having an idea or the need or passion to serve. So from there, it led me to some organization or some sort of business that is in operation where I got involved with that particular business or organization. While in the business or organization, I look around and say, where can I add value to this situation? And it's always going to be a gap where if one person is trying to do the work of many, or if the different pieces of an organization don't connect, I innately, or let's say my gift is to connect those dots. And so from there, I say, okay, this is what I see and this is what I can bring to the table. And they always say, okay, you can help me out. And from there, once I get to work, I provide value. And nowhere in that particular scenario did I say my invoice is, or my Cash App is, or maybe back in those days, it may have been my PayPal is. And so all throughout those times, even to this day, I do have services, I do have products, I do have courses, but there's always part of my particular growth where I take on opportunities for the greater good is what I like to call it. So the big picture, in that I invest my time, I invest my effort, I invest my energy, and it provides a return, not necessarily, and this is where people get it twisted in many cases, where if I give to you, you must reciprocate and give to me. If I believe in something, I give to it because I want to see it at its highest level. Where people get often twisted up is that the entitlement of what I give, I must receive immediately, where I tend to look at it as reciprocity is a cloud that's over all of us. And so when I give, it's the concept of a universal bank. And that return may come next week, it may come 5 years from now, but I believe that when you give, energy that's given is always returned, but you can't choose when that
where
is.
it comes from. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's
and
my
that's
approach.
What I would say. A lot of times people go, Naja, why are you telling me this? You should charge, you should do this. And I say, because even if I'm doing something good for this person and they wind up using it for ill, it doesn't matter because I'm putting out that energy and it's always going to come back to me in a good way. Hence the reason I don't worry about it. And I don't worry about payback or anything like that because I believe, you get what you get, and that's why I continue to stay on the positive side and do things for people because I believe in the cause, I believe in the product, I believe in that person, or I believe in just, it feels good to give. And I think a lot of times people get caught up in that immediate gratification or if I give with the expectations of that return, they're only giving for that. They're not giving out of a pure heart. And so, definitely spoken well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Genius level talent. Do you have to believe in it so hard because people put their insecurities on you?
Squad made the beat.
My name is Scott Galley, and I'm the CEO of Hashtag Industries, and I am a genius.
Hey y'all, it's TSU The Buzz Radio with your host, I am Zaire, also known as DJ Roz, and I am Genius.
Our job is to find that genius level talent and then to apply it in a way that supports that genius level talent.
My name is Mariah Lee. I'm a musician and I am a genius. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the set. My name is Justice. My genius is music. Genius is comedy.
Doesn't mean you have to walk around planting unwanted seeds. Doesn't mean you have to walk around with all the guns.
My name is Mira Moffitt, and my genius is poetry. Genius is comedy.
Hi, I'm Celeste Stein, an associate professor of mass communication. Although I have a lot of interests, my genius is actually nurturing and helping others to achieve their full potential. I currently teach at Tennessee State University, where genius is common.
I
am the genius.
My name is Gabriel Golden. I'm a student at Tennessee State University, and everyone has a genius in them. So I challenge you to find your genius.
So this has been completely enjoyable, with the minus aspects of some of the distractions. How do you like this working from home thing anyway?
Well, I would like to point out that there is a big difference. There's a big difference between regular working from home and COVID-19 quarantine work from home. The first thing is the whole world is adjusting to a new normal, and the hours expand. They expand. Most people have never worked this much in their whole life. At the time of this broadcast, the week before, this past week, I worked 73 hours. And so it's a lot. And so what I find, if we outline the positives, I'm thankful to be in a position where I have what is considered an essential business that allows me to work online and generate income for myself and those who love me. So that's important. That's number one. But the nuances to it is in terms of having to set additional boundaries, because just because we're all at home doesn't mean that I'm always available for a conversation or for people to just tell me how their day is going, because there's important work to be done. But
absolutely,
the work side of things, the fitness side of things, the opportunity to focus on projects versus tasks and really say, okay, how can I bring my business to the next level during this time? What I'm really focused on is not being on the wrong side of history, meaning when my grandkids ask, Grandpa Shadi, what did you do during COVID-19? I don't want to say, well, I gained 20 pounds and I watched Netflix. I want to say,
absolutely,
that trust fund that you have now where you can go to school and you don't have to worry about much, it was developed during this time. That's the story that I would like to tell my family.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, utilize this time, this given time as a gift, and put your focus in how you're going to use it to build your foundation, so that way when we're out of this COVID quarantine season, you'll have that to then springboard to the next level. So I couldn't have said it better myself. But with that being said, even though we're home, we still have schedules to adhere to. And I appreciate your time with me today, Shahid, because it was very informative. You said a lot of great things. And coming from me is one thing, but coming from you, for some people, they'll definitely receive it better. So I appreciate you.
All right, well,
with that being said, how do people find you and follow you and collaborate?
Well, the very first thing that I have to offer is 1 year of my business journey. The ups, the downs, the tips, the templates can all be found at MrShadi.com. And Mr. Shadi is spelled MRSHA, D like David, EE, D like David.com / email. So MrShadi.com /email. This will bring you to my business advisory report, which is 1 year of my journey in entrepreneurship as it's happening in real time. The names are sometimes changed to protect those who are growing to the next level. And you can find me on social media platforms at Mr. Shadi. It is spelled absolutely the same. And I look forward to connecting with the members of your audience who are looking to grow their businesses or start something new.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that you know, people think so much alike on different levels. And I'm really thrilled to know that you put a year out of your journey so that people can see and get into the mind, into the framework of how it all kind of lays out, and they can see what's to be expected and things like that. I did the similar thing through like a journaling entry, but through poetry. You guys, that book will be out this summer. So I'm excited about that. But Shadid, it's been fun. It's been fun. You know how to find me. For future things, I will be reaching out as well. You guys, I'd like to take this moment to thank my sponsors, which is Dance Solutions Youth Outreach, Mission Dance Works, Favor One Man Sharpens Another, Esther, the Entrepreneurship School for the Artists, and Nail Fetish, you guys. Nothing but love for you. Tune in to Get It, Got It Good on WBGR Health and Wellness Channel, as well as Total Entertainment Radio, and follow us on all social media platforms at Get It Got It Good G3. Nothing but love for you guys. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I will be talking to you soon. Bye. Have a great day.
Thank you.